welcome. Excuse me, I have a really bad tickle. Excuse me while I drink this. Oh, they put something really yummy in here. Just kidding, it's water. Okay. Now, I know both of you have been extremely successful in your businesses for a while now, right? I mean, a lot of these people in this audience have seen you cross the stage at various times in your career, but you had to get your business up and going initially. So we would love to talk to you a little bit about your strategies of getting full, show calendars, when you first started, because we have a lot of individuals in this audience, so we're going back to team members who are new, right? And have only been with us maybe a couple months or through the summer months, so would love to hear a little bit more about that. So Annalie.
Well, when I first started my business, I realized that I just needed about 4 shows a month. It was part-time for me. And I learned very quickly on that if I booked the show right at the show, it was a heck of a lot easier, and I've carried that out. If I'm not getting the full show schedule that I want, I make it a priority to do that. And what I'm finding now is that I'm getting about 95% of my bookings right at my show, which makes it a lot easier because then I'm not tracking people down.
Yeah.
So I'm much more comfortable doing it that way.
That is just awesome. I'm so glad that Annalie, is talking about this, because we know that most of us in this room do that. But you know what? Again, we have a lot of folks back home, when you get back home, that don't necessarily do that for whatever reason, whatever barrier or fear or whatever, to get it right there and then. So I so appreciate that you really talk about and secure that booking right there on your calendar at the show. So Jessica, can we hear a little bit from you about your strategies?
Sure. Well, when I first started this business, I had quit my corporate job and I really didn't want to do a lot of shows. So I found myself with 1 show on my calendar.
Oh my.
No shows the next month. I was fine with it, just because I had just quit my job. My husband, on the other hand, not so fine with it. We needed a little bit more income than nothing. So he decided, I needed to pick up the pace. So I knew that the only way to do that, the meat of what we do, is our cooking shows. So my plan was, I didn't really want to get on the phone. Even though I had spent 15 years in telemarketing, I still didn't want to get on the phone. So I thought, if I could get on the phone and overbook myself for at least 45 to 60 days, then focus on doing a great cooking show to be able to get at least 2 bookings from every show, then I would never have to make another booking call. The plan worked, which is great. I haven't made a cold call booking call in over 6 years.
Oh my gosh. How about you guys? Would you love that? Yeah.
I call it my airplane plan. Everybody likes analogies, so if you kind of think about your business as an airplane, no matter if you're new or you're just trying to pick up the schedule from where you are today, airplanes, as they go down the runway, they can't just putter down the runway or they're never going to get off the ground.
That's not good.
You kind of have to push, go really fast those first 45 to 60 days and climb as hard and fast as you can to get to that comfortable cruising altitude. Once you get there, that's where you've got the shows, the additional shows. Then you can start focusing on getting the bookings from your parties. And then the bookings don't become that pit in your stomach anymore.
Right, which is so nice not to have to worry about that. I love the 45 to 60 day strategy, don't you, Tony? I think that is so very smart.
Absolutely, and I think we would love to hear more from you, Jessica, and your approach to asking for bookings.
Right. I think we have to realize that when you don't have the number of shows that you want and you're not getting them from the show, you are going to have to make contacts. Now, granted, there's a lot of ways to make the contacts through calling and texting and Facebook, but you're going to have to talk to somebody at some point. So when you do, however you do that, it's going to be important for you to let them know, what is it that you want? What is your goal? When you pick up the phone and you call somebody at 5 o'clock, they're not thinking, they're not thinking about, oh, this party was really fun, and they're not in a party mode, they're in a survival mode, right? They've got a child attached to them, the food is burning on the stovetop, right? So I think it's important to get to the point, okay? Don't hem holler around, get to the point. Make sure that you share with them what it is that you are trying to do with your business, how they can help you. People always want to help the people that they know, right? That's a natural instinct for most of us. And then tell them, what are you going to do for them to keep it simple and easy and fun. And they usually are more engaged at that point.
You know, that's so important in the crazy, hectic times that we have right now, isn't it? I mean, everybody just seems to be running in 100 different directions. So I think the simpler that you can let that host, prospective host, know that you're going to make it for them, the much better chance you have for that booking.
So we have our booking. So now it comes down to making it easy for the host. So I'd like to ask Annalie, how do you make it easy for your host?
Well, I just want to make it so that whatever is going to be the easiest for them is the method that we do, like the inviting and everything. So basically I asked them right off the get-go, what's going to be easiest for you? What I used to do is I used to demand a guest list back with 40 names and addresses. And what I was finding was that a lot of my hosts were canceling their shows and doing a late cancellation or just procrastinating because that was not easy for them. That was not easy to gather up the names and addresses, especially for our younger generation who do not have names and addresses. So what I ask now is, what's the easiest way for you? Is it easiest for you to text? Is it easiest for you to email? Is Facebook easiest? And we'll just do a combo of the methods that's easiest for them, and then I set it all up for them. I will do the Facebook event for them. I will prepare the invitation and email it out so they can forward it on. Just making it simple has minimized my cancellations to almost nothing.
Wow. I love it. So smart. So very smart. So,
Jessica, would you like to add?
Absolutely, and I completely agree with making it easy for your host and talk to them. Don't just assume that everybody mails their invitations these days. Some people don't even have stamps. They wouldn't even know where to get them, right? That would be me. So you do have to communicate with them. It's okay to ask, what is the best way, or multiple ways. Sometimes you need to email and set up a Facebook event and, use the great new app that we've all been using, the red stamping app. There's a lot of things you can do, and it's great, right?
So talk a little bit about the red stamping. It seems like a lot of folks are
you.
familiar with that, yes? Wahoo! They're all over it. I love it.
It's really simple for anyone who has an Apple system,
product.
an Apple product.
Okay.
It's easy for anyone who's not even very good with technology. It's pretty simple to use, but you can actually text the host the invitation, and then they can text it to all their friends.
So easy.
Which is wonderful, right?
I love it. How many of you are using that? Okay, so a good portion, but not everybody. So looks like the folks that didn't have an opportunity.
I do think in addition to making it easy for the inviting is set goals for your host. I like to keep it real simple for them. I want you to get 10 to 15 people at your house and $250 in outside orders. I tell them, I will bring the food, you bring the friends, and everybody's going to have a great time. Keep it simple.
Wow, love it. We've been talking to you a little bit about, that you get most of your bookings at the show. You get that calendar out right there, probably through the full service checkout. But what I really want to know, and I think that the audience wants to know, is how do you create that desire that you really walk away? Because really, the two of you, when we spoke to you in advance, really walk away with 2 to 3 bookings on an average. So how do you create that desire? How I know this audience is going to want to know this.
Well, I like to set the stage right from the very beginning, and I'll tell my guests, you're going to see a lot of products tonight. You're going to see so many products that you're going to be making a mental wish list that is far longer than your budget. And so the smart thing to do is just have me over for a show. We'll get you your whole shopping spree done at your show. And then you can pull in your host and have her share how easy it was. I find that when my host shares that testimonial of how simple, it's just absolutely effortless to do it, how we make it easy, people understand that it's not going to be hard to do this at all. And then if you have your past host share all the things that they got, that can be a very powerful testimonial too. So make sure you're getting your past host involved and sharing all the things that she was able to get from her show and how much fun she had. That's a really big piece of it as well.
And again, in today's crazy times where people are so time-starved, especially for our new consultants and a lot of your team members, we really have to train them and coach them to make sure that they're not sitting there for 3 hours.
Exactly.
People kind of want you to come in, have some fun, and then eventually they'd like for you to leave you. So, right? It's like not set up, boot camp like Allison.
It's not a slumber party.
It's not a slumber party. Exactly. Even though I think both of you probably have enough fun at your shows that people would like to have that. I don't know.
As long as we're cooking for them, I'm sure they would.
So Jessica, can you add to that?
Sure. I think everything that Annalie said is 100%. Once you build that excitement, through the benefits and how easy it is, then I think the key is get them excited about every single product in that catalog. Let's face it, if they came to spend $50 in their mind, or to buy a food chopper, and they can afford to buy the food chopper, most people, the big reason they tell you is they're too busy to have a show. If you create that desire for every product that they possibly want, then guess what? They're going to listen. So for me, Annalie and I both call them power tools. My favorite two things to bring are the deep cover baker and the grill pan and press.
Okay, now I just have to stop for just a second, because the day before I spoke to Duska on the phone about this segment, she had just done, the night before, a $3,000 cooking show.
Wow.
$3,000 cooking show.
Wow.
Wow, yeah, so woo! And she sold 9 grill pans and press. 9. It was just like amazing. So talk about desire, like, wow.
Well, I think for me, when I first started this business, I did not cook. I worked all the time. So, when I say this at my shows, I think this is why I'm relatable to them. When I used to tell my kids it was time for dinner, they would put their shoes on and go to the door. So but most people get that. They think that's kind of funny. But the great thing is that I wanted to learn how to cook. Well, if you've got great tools and a few good recipes to get you started, and you know how to use those tools all day long. And I think that's why we both focus on the power tools, because they can be used for breakfast, lunch, dinner. You have to create the value for those products and then give them lots and lots and lots of recipe ideas. Visually take them into the kitchen so that they can see themselves and get inspired to get into the kitchen for their families and cook for them.
Well, that was the one thing both of you really spoke to Tony and myself about, is the fact that you really don't do the desserts or the salsas. Even though that those are easy, it's like you're really using those main entree, get the dinner on the table, $2 per serving, recipes, so that you're selling those high-priced items. So,
well, those are what inspire people to get into the kitchen, because they know that everybody has to make dinner for their family at some point. Yeah. So my philosophy is carry smart, right? Sell more.
Oh, I love that. Carry smart, sell more. I love that. Okay, so both of you told Tony and myself, when we were talking, the two of you, that it's really, really important to really zone in on a particular style of your show. Because when you do that and are very comfortable, your passion really comes out. So can you talk to the audience a little bit about your styles, what you've kind of selected? So Annalie, can you share a little bit?
Yeah, when I first started this business, I used to always kind of compare myself to other people and try to emulate what other people were doing. And I learned, it took me a while to figure this out, but I have to just be me. And me is not a cook. And me is not enjoying to cook that much. So when I go to a show, I'm showing a quick, easy weeknight meal that comes together in 15 minutes. I am not going to be doing a 30 or 40-minute presentation. So I like to do a very short show. So the first 15 to 20 minutes is going to be that great main dish meal that Duska and I both love so much, featuring the power tools, featuring the deep cover baker, featuring a piece of cookware. And then the second half of my show is really what I consider the most important part, and that's where I do the booking part and the sharing of the business. And I do that in a variety of ways. The booking slide is always a great tool. Also, the Stealing Hearts game, if you don't know about that, that's a wonderful way to generate interest in bookings and business. And, I just keep it like under 40 minutes, and people are in and out. I'm often home by 8:30 to tuck my kids into bed. It's just fantastic. I love it.
And that's what this business is all about, right? We want you to be with your family. So that is absolutely wonderful and so smart.
I think you touched on something important, that you have to find a style that works for you.
Exactly.
You're going to hear you always hear wonderful, tips and ideas when we come to events like this. You kind of have to take the ones that were attractive to you and then tweak them to make them your own. Because I do enjoy cooking now. I'm actually a pretty darn good cook now. Yeah. Versus only doing macaroni and cheese, right? So my passion comes from teaching those customers how they can make dinner for their families, how they can cook all day long and have a 15-minute meal or a 20-minute meal. So my demo is very much cooking and cooking tips. I'm an educator. I like to learn. So that makes me more passionate, I think, during my
Yes.
demo. Mine's about 55 minutes total with everything. But the good portion of mine is spent on the cooking part and creating a desire for the product.
Sure.
Because it's what works, it's what's my passion.
Right.
And let's face it, if you're passionate, they're passionate.
And if you're not having fun, nobody else is going to be having fun. So just do what's fun for you, and everybody else is going to love that too.
That's
You are right on. This is a fun business. So we have to impart that on our consultants, right? Back home. So
I always love hearing from a customer that says, you know, you should really love what you're doing, don't you? We should all strive for that.
Right.
To have your next show, have somebody tell you, don't go pay them to tell you, ask them, you know, let's just hope it happens, right? That they love it enough, right? That they tell you, you look like you love what you're doing.
oh, I love that.
Now I want to go back a little bit because you said earlier that up to 95% of your bookings are done at the time of the show.
Yeah.
Now I would love you to expand on that a little bit because there's obviously something that you were both doing that is creating this urgency.
Right. Well, I have a couple tips for that. And you know, I just let people know my schedule fills quickly and they need to book tonight because I'm not going to probably be able to follow up with them very effectively, so they need to get in my calendar tonight. Now, some of you don't have that going on at the moment, or some of your team members don't. And so I have a tip for you. A lot of our team members, I'll hear them say, you know, my schedule's wide open, so book whenever you want. And that's like the fastest way for somebody to cancel, right? So let's say that you want 6 shows on your calendar. And you have 1 show booked. So instead of saying, well, I only have 1 show, so I'm really open, so just pick whatever date you want, you need to say, I only have 5 dates left. So if you want to get into my schedule, you've got to get in tonight. And then know your open dates and just offer 1 date at a time. It's just like how they book at the dentist office. They don't say, well, the whole month of September is open, so pick whenever you want to come. No, they say, how does September 14th work for you at this time? So you offer your first available and go from there. You also have to address those objections before they even crop up. So during my show, I'll say, you know, some of you are probably wondering, is this going to take a lot of time? Because that's our number 1 objection, I'm too busy. So I'll say, you know, some of you are out there wondering, you know, I'd love to do this, but I'm just too busy. And so I'll just say to them, say to the group, you know, I know you're wondering that, and what I want to tell you is that I take care of everything. And then you can go back to your host and have her give the testimonial again and say, you know, all we need to do is pick our date, and I will do the rest. It's going to be that simple. And then at the full service checkout, I personally ask everybody, regardless, I don't even look at the door price slip. I just ask everybody and just say, hey, when are we going to party at your house? That's my approach.
I love that.
But do you ever get the people that say, yeah, I want to do this, but I need to go home and check my calendar? The checking the calendar is the death wish. It's
the death wish.
It is, it's the death wish. So what I say is, well, let's pencil in a date. I'll give you your host packet, and then you can call me within the next day or 2 if that's not going to work for you. And what I'm finding is like 80 to 90% of those shows are held because they're walking out with a packet.
Wow.
And they
That's
already
so
kind of
smart.
are mentally committing. If you have to track them down, 80 to 90% of the time you're not going to be able to get them booked. So just pencil in a date. It's that easy. And then your host gets the credit too. So
smart.
Yeah, I think to tie into that, it's all about urgency, right? You know, everyone, if you go to get your hair cut, you don't want to go to somebody who, you know, has an open calendar, who's never done anybody else's hair,
That
right?
is scary.
Right?
I sure don't.
You want the person who's booked, you don't go to that person, right? No.
That's a scary
Thanks for
area.
telling me that.
Right.
I didn't know that.
Right.
I always get right in.
We go for the person who's the hot commodity, right? Somebody who can sell themselves. And so I think you have to learn to fake it to make it. Don't act like you don't have a full calendar. You're hot, you know you're good, right? Your calendar should be full and it will be full. They don't need to know that you don't have any dates on your calendar. You can just say exactly what she said, and that's what I always say. I only have a few dates open tonight. I highly recommend that you get on my calendar tonight, or it may be December before you get on my calendar. And they're all like, well, I gotta have that grill pan, so I better get on her calendar tonight. Because let's face it, we will do whatever it takes if we want something bad enough. Especially when we're dealing with women.
Right? Yes.
You know, we are learning so much today, and this is our premiere episode. But I gotta say, you are so successful in what you do. As we look out and we talk to the new consultant that coming into this business doesn't have the customer base that both of you have established over your extensive careers, what would you say to the new consultant going into the 4th quarter season, going into the prime holiday selling season? What advice would you give them?
Well, you know, we have a new catalog out, so it's the perfect time to have your own show. And that's a great way to do it. And you know, when you have your own show, don't just focus on the products and the sales, focus on the bookings. So give big prizes for people that bring guests. I'll give a prize for each guest they bring. Give big prizes for bookings. You could even do a booking show.
I love that.
So not a cooking show, but a booking show. And this would be a no buying event. A lot of us have been trying this. I'm sure some of you guys out there have tried this because I got the idea from somebody else. So you try the no buying show where you tell everybody to come and there's no buying allowed. And what you do is you just focus really heavily on all the perks of the bookings. So you're going to give them a catalog, a wish list, you're going to go over the booking slide, you're going to just really promote it and then give away some prizes for bookings. And you give the prizes when the shows are held. So you bring the prizes to the show. And in May, I was kind of looking at my summer calendar, it wasn't looking so hot. So what I did was I did one of these at the tail end of May, and I got 5 dated bookings for June and July. And that made me feel a lot more confident about my summer.
Awesome. Woohoo! And it wasn't so hot because Annalie was out of the country, I know, for a couple months. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I needed
and we'll
those.
talk about that a little bit later.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
at any rate. So, Jessica.
I think a couple things you have to remember what time of season it is. So for any new consultants we have out there, or really for anybody who's trying to grow their calendar, we have all these great vendor events, right? These holiday extravaganzas. It's all about meeting new people, making new contacts, right? So all of you are leaders in the room. I challenge all of you to go find an event in your area and get your new consultants, the people on your team who want to grow their businesses, get them involved. You go do some legwork, help them out a little bit. You know, the other thing too is, we are switching the season, right? How many of you have a whole bunch of catalogs that somehow you didn't manage to give all out, right? Right? Anybody have those? Please do not throw them in the trash, okay? They are great marketing tools for you. I like to take labels and put on the catalog, call me for a new fall catalog over 40 new products. And then take them everywhere you go. Pack up that catalog tote full of spring catalogs, right? Take them to your doctor's office. Take them to your orthodontist. Take them to your hairdresser, your nail lady, right? Take them and drop them off. And when you're there, make brownies, right?
Yeah.
Go in and see if you can pamper that business for the day and bring them a fun treat. People respond to food.
Exactly.
Right? We know that. Thank goodness they all respond to food for us, right?
Well, and I love what Jessica was just talking about is actually going into offices. And I know some of you do that,
Right.
and bring a little treat. But I have to say, as busy people, right? All of us in this room are very, very busy. Again, time-starved ourselves. I have to tell you, for me, kind of working at the office, long hours, I love when my Avon lady comes because I don't have to go to the store. It's such a great service. And so when I sit there and I think of the pampered chef in terms of going to, offices to help them, because think about all those people that really do need help in terms of when they leave at night, there are probably a lot of people thinking, how am I going to get that meal on the table? And what an incredible service that all of us provide.
And you have to be flexible. I know Annalie and I talked about that. You have to have that flexibility to go and do a lunchtime show.
Exactly.
Right?
And
Be
also
creative.
flexibility for how you connect with people. It may not just be the phone anymore.
That's right.
It might be texting, it might be emailing, it might be Facebook chat. I'm not using the phone that much these days. It's really other methods.
In fact, I was talking to Annalie on the phone as well, and it was like this moment when she said what she's about to say to you that it was like a Zen moment. It was like, I thought, wow, this is it.
Okay,
because
this is a little bit much build up.
Okay. But what it was I sat there and I thought, there are so many people, you probably know them on your teams, that are like, I can't get a booking. And I think, Doreen Grass and I were talking the other day, when we were doing this business, I had to stop. I didn't have a cell phone. I had to stop at a payphone. The 7-Eleven people knew me very well, seriously. And I had the quarters, plug away the quarters. It's like, good golly, we have so much great technology. So what
I told you was that bookings are accessible, but you have to be flexible. You have to be flexible in the way that you do your shows, and you also have to be flexible in the methods that you use to get those bookings. So it's not just picking up the phone, it's other methods too. So yeah, I really believe that. I think that if we want it bad enough, if our teams want it bad enough, and if we're flexible, we can make it happen.
There are ways. You know what I just realized, Tony? I realized that I just kind of dated myself. Oh my gosh, that's like scary.
Just a little bit. Jeannie, I am getting the high sign from the producers. We got to take a commercial break, but could we ask Anna Lee and Duska to maybe come back a little later in the episode? Would you like to see them come back a little later?